TV and Crown Publishing content followers, viewers, and supporters. Thank you for tuning in with us live, clicking on our video for another insightfulness topic on tonight with Arthur Sherry, with me, myself, and audio host. Feel free to hit that like button, subscribe, and share. You can share our link when we're live. You can share our channel link. That helps us to also spread our messages of insightfulness, inspirational quotes, and positive messages, okay? Today we're going to be talking about the curse of Ham. Is it real? What is the curse of Ham? Who is Ham? Which we know that he is just one of one of the children that Noah had, okay? Talking a little bit more about how, it's no way around it. Even in the story of Eve, the one person sin can actually affect everything and everybody around them. Nobody ever wants to hear topics about sins, especially from sinners, but the Bible says all fall short of his glory. That's not an excuse to build a countenance upon repentance. Like, I messed up, I'm gonna repent. I messed up, I'm gonna repent. It's a difference between a person like that and a person that thinks about that because they actually care. They actually feel grief and sorrow about something they just did. And that would be between them and God. Pretty much. So we know that Noah, even if you've never heard the story of Noah, it's like so many animated series and cartoons and, real life movies too. Real movies that try to recreate these stories and give us more of a visual image. And this has happened with a lot of books long before the Noah story. And I'm not going to say before the Noah story. After the Noah story, this is like in the modern age technology days, we can recreate stories that we first saw in a book for so many years. That's why Harry Potter, all these different ones, eventually took the same route. Twilight, you name it. It's a lot of movies out there. You guys name one in the comments that were books first and then created into images. But if you want more of an insight, you'll notice every movie might show the story a little different. But that's what always leads us back to the original story. Maybe to research it, especially when you didn't know you could read it. That's where we always find the original of how anything happened. So, but shout out to every producer, writer, everybody that's ever participated in recreating the imagery for us when it comes to historical Bible movies and texts and stories. I always appreciate them, from VeggieTales to the big Hollywood movies like Passion of the Christ. I always found joy in those type of movies. It just gives you insight on something that was written in text first, especially ancient texts. Those are the best movies to me. Maybe I'm still old-fashioned or whatever, but when they came out with The Mummy, for example, you could tell, like I said, these writers don't just get that out the air. I feel like the writer of the first original version of The Mummy definitely visited Egypt at some time in his or her life and actually found something, insightful for them to even put that together in a script like that. So we always appreciate that. You writers and people that try to bring these movies out so we can see something. Like, everybody don't read the Bible like, oh, I get it. I see how this story happened. Because when y'all talk about looking for entertainment, not that you should just go to the Bible for that, but it's really crazy. You will find a lot of stories that you didn't even know was there. Like, wow, they were going through this in ancient time. They had concubines and whores then. Yeah, they had pimps back then too. Everything we got today. That's why God said ain't nothing new under the sun. It's just like people were bolder. They did what they want to do just like then. Then, that's what I'm trying to say. And I don't know why all that changes pretty much is the era, the century, the year, okay? But the bloodlines, you can crisscross them all you want to. It's like it come out. Those don't change or go away. You can only mix them or try to taint it or mix it up a little bit. That bloodline is that bloodline. They all have traced back as far as you can trace it back. That's all I'm going to say with that. So, who is Ham, right? One of Noah's sons. Y'all, like, straight up, I don't have to be a theorist, anybody smart to read the Bible. But like I said, you get more of a visual of what happened when you actually watch screenplays, movies, anything that's showing you more of a visual of what happened. And did y'all know that Because I'm going to read what it say. It's controversial to this day. Some believe, like, it doesn't say particularly that his son, great, that word. We got to use the proper language for the media channels here. But, it never said he did that to his father. But it wrote something that when you translate it to Hebrew text or another language would mean that. Isn't that interesting? I'm not teaching anybody anything here today. I'm talking about what's significant about it. How if something like the curse of Ham really exists, why wouldn't people be concerned about it? In other curses, the curse of Eve was probably very real. Adam and Eve. There was many times in the Bible people were whole life cursed. We are just the extended bloodlines later on. So it does pay us to know who we are. So you know what blessings was on your lineage and what curses were there. I would say, why is that not important? Especially when you don't went to a million therapists, doctors, lawyers, everybody trying to figure out why your life go a certain way. If you're one of those people out there, we're not saying read the Bible to make you religious or change your beliefs or force and control what you believe. You actually might find a story that relates to something you're going through, and you will see that with some of those men and women too, and children, there were whole curses and blessings involved before they was even the age of 1. Somebody was already trying to fight over their birthright. Somebody was already trying to take their dad out, their mom out. Literally, this started long before us, guys. There were blessings and curses associated with many of those. Let's for now call them characters, but I believe many of these Bible stories were real people. I believe that. People say, well, this name, how did we know that was their real name? How do people know my real name right now? Okay, you put a character name on anybody, that don't mean you wasn't talking about somebody real. Okay? Like a real person that happened to. I could have called him Moses, but his name was really Joe. But the only name we should really be more concerned about, the one they try to wash away real quick, instead of washing away the sins, they try to wash away the name of Jesus. But this topic is not about that today in Christ's life, but how the Christ consciousness and believers in Christ, the stories that surround some things that took place before Christ himself was even born in the form of flesh like that. Okay, so the curse of Ham. Once again, why am I coming here as an insightful topic? This is gold to me. Like, yeah, why didn't I think about that before? If people before us in deeper bloodlines and lineages definitely were going through things, like it didn't matter if they go to counselors, priests, whoever back then. Sometimes it wasn't nothing but they were cursed. And it wasn't nothing they did. Something daddy, grandpa, sister, brother, mom, 200 years ago did. It can affect somebody 200 years later. Or do we need to look at again the definition of a curse? Actually, let me look that up. Let me see what Wikipedia says real quick. Let's look it up. Because I want to know what Wikipedia has to tell us about what a curse is. Or are curses real, right? Hold on, y'all. I want to see this. Hey, Google, what is a curse? I'll be asking Google some crazy questions. Google probably be like, what? Why you want to know? Okay, so I just want to read everything that popped up here for somebody, let's say, who didn't know what a curse was or who didn't know what a blessing was. Let's see right here. A curse, it says a solemn utterance. Wow, like the first 3 words already kind of have me going a little bit, y'all, in interest. Because the utterance is something that you would have to speak, even if you can't fully get it out. Like, it's like you utter it, right? The solemn, or that means solemn is something alone, like that tangible piece of something. Utterance intended, y'all heard that word? Intended, it just an intention. That's all a curse is, from what I'm reading so far. It's a negative intention towards somebody else. I didn't look up what evil or nothing else meant, but those would, I say, be an example of sending a utterance of intention, of a negative intention. Okay, let's keep reading. A solemn utterance intended to invoke a supernatural power. Straight up, it tell you right there on Google Webster's dictionary. To invoke a supernatural power to inflict harm or punishment on someone or something. And people say curses aren't real. And I didn't get that from the Bible, ladies and gentlemen. That's straight off of Wikipedia and Google. The number two definition or example of a curse, if somebody wanted to know what it is, a coarse or blasphemous. See, I'm not reading nothing good pertaining to this when we talk about curses already. A coarse or blasphemous word or phrase used to express anger. Oh, okay. Or other strong emotions. So even a curse word obviously is not good. Okay, let me keep reading here. So we know that we was just talking about a curse, but it gave me a definition of a curse word because that's another example, obviously, of a curse. Let's read an example sentence. His mouth was spitting vile oaths and curses. Wow, an oath is a promise. They also say you cannot bless and curse somebody at the same time. Like you can't bless, blessings and curses shouldn't come out the same mouth. A lot of teachings on curses or whatever. As a verb, the word curse, it would be used an example like it often seemed as if the family had been cursed. Wow, that's the whole example right there on Wikipedia. Invoke or use of a curse against another person is using that in verbiage, like to take action to curse something or somebody. Use of coarse or blasphemous language to express anger or other strong emotions. So we all have curse or cuss word a time or two in our life, especially in modern day society. But I just wanted y'all to know, I'm not saying be okay with it. I'm saying even in ancient times, biblical times, people were using curse words. They spew them out left and right. I don't know who we think we got it from. Ain't a new curse word yet. And some of them, that's how old they are. Words like PISS or ASS. It's literally in the Bible. You heard that first from You Will Make It TV. Maybe you didn't, but we do encourage you to read ancient texts too sometimes if you can help it. What you know how to read and write. What are we reading into? Just the internet? And what's going on in society around us, but we're not willing to look at the very fact that curses is real. Something that's a cycle. I don't know why I didn't see that. Let me Google. I mean, I'm saying in definition, like why they didn't. Let me see. So, anyways, that's pretty much the gist of what a curse is. Now I want to look up what a blessing is, because for those that don't know, the only opposite of a curse is a blessing. When people become untied or connected to a curse, they would consider it a blessing, wouldn't y'all say? So blessing is the other side of curse. That's the opposite. That's the synonym. There's no in between. You're cursed or you're blessed. It's time somebody stand up and say it. But people ain't just going through cycles of the same exact looking stuff for no reason. You cannot pay me to believe that. Now, cycles and patterns are real. I don't think I have to look that up for you guys. Like, oh, Wikipedia, Google, what does a cycle mean? Everybody know what a cycle is. If you don't, it's a repetitious effect of the same act or person, the same of anything. A pattern. We've been learning patterns, y'all, really. And people think that we can't break down curses out here. We've been learning patterns. That's one of the first things you learn in kindergarten. And this how they teach you. It's going to be a test like triangle, triangle, circle. They give you basic pattern tests so you can learn what a pattern is. I don't even think my 2-year-old probably understands what a pattern is just yet. But the thing is, in her early years in life, I can start teaching her now, but the schools definitely are. That's a whole part of the education board. That's a part of the curriculum. A child must learn how to observe, pinpoint out a cycle or a pattern at an early age. They do it with shapes, colors, numbers. Some of these learning apps, they go ahead and introduce them to cycles and patterns. I don't care what you say. We learn about the life cycle, the cycle of a plant. If you don't know what a pattern or a cycle is, even if, I don't know, I'm saying you need to get connected. Because what if one is happening in your life and you're not even paying attention? A whole cycle or a pattern. We're not talking about if it's good or bad yet. Like, is it a good cycle? We know to get up and drink a cup of coffee every morning, it's probably not the healthiest cycle. And you doing it for 10 years straight. Come on now. You might get a little stain on your teeth, coffee, breath. Everything. I could talk to y'all about it. I am a coffee lover. It's not the best cycle, right? It's not the best choice. And how some of us, we don't look at ourselves as better as nobody. But once you begin to look at a cycle in your life, it might encourage you, if you don't like it, to practice even better options of a better cycle. That's how, I mean, practice a better routine. That's how. A routine is more, no matter who creates it, it's very intentional. Remember how I just read the definition of a curse is like spewed intentional words, spewed intentional thought at somebody, a spewed intentional looking at them crazy. You don't just look at somebody crazy. You don't look at them up and down. You don't look at them from behind with disgust without intent. Intent is what made you look at that person ill. Intent is what made you spew out that curse to them. Like there's intention behind everything. So let's say you might have to say what you say a little rougher, but you know what your intent was to do: edify, correct, bring things together. They want people to be confused about their intentions, and you want to be careful with that. You want to know why you're doing something. If I'm waking up in the middle of the night every night for 1 week at 3 o'clock in the morning, that's, ladies and gentlemen, is an example of a pattern, of a cycle. It became a cycle after it happened day number 2. All of us are going to have a sleepless night here or there, but why wouldn't somebody notice that it's happening back to back to back to back? Cycles and patterns. We're starting this topic off talking about that, because even God said, I'm starting to think the creator is behind what a pattern and cycle is to begin with. The sun has a system. The moon has a system. Everything is have a pattern, but it shouldn't be used for sick reasons. Like, I don't think so. The pattern is you went to 5th grade when you was little. If you have children, they're supposed to go to 5th grade. That's what I describe as a positive pattern or cycle. Hey, I graduated college. The cycle would be, I want to keep that going. I want to see my children graduate college, right? Anything, and that's my intention. Your intention is you're hard on them about their schoolwork, or you're hard on them about their image, or you're hard on them about their decisions, and you might have said it rough, you might have said it tough, you might even cuss in there, but I'm telling you, it goes back to that intention. Why did you care in the first place? Well, because they're your children. There's no intention set without some type of desire. What desired you to make a good intention? What desired you to set a positive intention or a negative intention? So back to the topic of Ham. Ham was one of Noah's sons. Before I even talk about Ham, I believe there were things trying to attach itself like no other to Noah. Call for his attention, distract him, discourage him from what he was actually building and working on. And we don't want to just like put this on a level of working on anything else. You're actually performing an act that God told you to do. Now, it ain't like they was coming around them to be buddy with Noah. Maybe they came around just to be nosy at first. Noah, what you doing? Why you keep coming into town buying all this wood? That's how it always starts. And they was following Noah too. They wanted to watch his every, as they mocked. Make that make sense. If you really didn't like what Noah doing, all you could do is turn your back and not support it, because he was not going to stop what God told him to do just because people were doing it. When they show the movies, they show this part, y'all, like, that's it. They show us like, look how they mocked Noah while he was trying to do what God told him to do. I want y'all to know that mockery, you can't operate out of emotion when you're working for God. The best thing you could do is take that emotion to God when they come. But if you know, like I said, that intent is for you to complete that task that God has put you to face up to for you to do, you need to talk to him about your emotions. Through you trying to get that done. If he's the one gave you the command and you need strength, who you gonna ask? It wasn't a soldier, it wasn't your mom, it wasn't your daddy who told you to go build that boat. Okay? So you would turn to that person. Hey, I need some more strength. I need some more wood. I need some water, God. We're running out of oats and wheat in the village. Anything you need, you would come to that person who gave you that order to construct what you were to move forward with. Or you don't even take the master series. Like, you just gonna go out there and build it how you want to. And then, like, really with my story, that kind of happened a little bit. Like, I wanted to build something the way I wanted it. And I was wondering why it was so much, like, grace and mercy that seemed to surround it when I first started it, regardless of what the project is. Not every one of my projects either went perfect from the beginning. It never said, Noah didn't have hard days and a piece of wood fell off, or something caught on fire sometimes, or something was too heavy for him. It kind of go into details, but when we think of him as a real man, what was you going through? Do y'all know how long he worked on this ark? Let me look that up too. They just wanted to consider what he did not work suddenly because they didn't ask him to build it. You know what I mean? How long did it take Noah to build the ark? The Bible doesn't explicitly state the exact number of years it took. However, based on biblical timelines and clues, it estimated that it likely took him between 55 and 75 years. Talk about a long time. But how some processes of birth do take a little longer. Literally, the woman carrying a baby is a whole 9 months, right? But it's worth it to her after that baby is delivered because of the work that was put in. How you ate healthily, exercise, how you took care of yourself while the baby was there, what the name you got ready for the baby, the clothes and everything. It's like an honor to you once it finally comes out. You're not worried about the pain you just suffered, the pain you went through every night while you was pregnant. Talking about those more beneficial, look how people were more temper-headed. You know, God know we all can get a temper from time to time, but who can be temper-headed? Like, I'm not just going to jump straight and react out of this temper like I usually would because I have something else worth a little more than that temper, okay? For example, let me ask y'all a question. How much do you feel like your temper is worth right now? Any one of you guys can comment. How much is your temper worth? How much do you get paid when you act up? When you go break something, when you cut somebody out? Literally, who has ever been paid for that? Unless you're on Zeus TV on the Baddies Club and they pay you for actually having a temper. Bad Girls Club. I just say it's a time, a place, a space for where we do things. From a temper to building to demolishing. You don't want to demolish a building and it's a bunch of people standing around, do you? You would reserve a day and organize when you're going to do something like that. And I think we've stepped a little way from that altogether. Just like divine order, okay? Divine order. Why divine order was always safer to trust. It might have took Noah a little longer to build it. Didn't he have to do that by himself? He might have got some hands to help him with it later. One thing for sure though, they say that ark got finished. Not only that, right in time, and not just our time or his time, y'all, divine timing. So I'm talking about divine order, not rules that I made, he made, she made. Why God sets them in place to begin with. It's an order to things. If you put red Legos together, pink Legos together, green, you get the concept. We were just talking about patterns and colors. And then you just pull a block out of nowhere, and that wasn't even a part of the order. You can expect that to be a little unbalanced for a little while, because everything has an order to it. It was created to, until something like a curse taints, affects, or hinders a thing or person. You wouldn't see as much order. That's when you can tell there's some disturbances. That's one clue for you guys that may be going through cycles and patterns that are against your will. Like, man, I just can't stop drinking. I just can't stop. We all got a weakness. That's what I'm telling y'all, that you will make it TV. But something that you willpower into not doing anymore, right? I wouldn't care if it's walking to the park. You just said, no, I'm finna break this pattern. I don't want to do that no more. When it's such a strong resistance like that a noticeable resistance. Like, people get mad, the animals mad, everybody mad because you just decided that you're finna break a pattern that you were doing and you're gonna stop walking to the park. Well, Noah wanted to break a pattern. Maybe his family wasn't the most perfect. Do y'all know that about Noah? Because now we're finna talk about Ham and what happened with his son and how his son's son ended up cursed from something his very own father did. Okay? But if I can break down a curse and, like, we're not talking about where they always come from. That's not what I mean. Literally break down, like, being able to recognize, no, this person is cursed, and them, their kids, their future, everything gonna be cursed if they don't break it. That's not something to sleep on. Somebody that's able to literally see curses and waking life. Well, pinpoint them. What do you call it? She's able to see them. And I knew if I could see it in somebody else's life, it was time that I looked at it in mine. Because I wonder how many descendants are walking around here today really related to Noah and his family, and they don't know it. They're of the bloodline of Ham. They're of the bloodline of one of his sons. Why would it matter to us? Well, that wouldn't be lifted off of them. That curse, the curse of Ham, that's something you have to go to God about. Because God allowed Noah to curse him. I don't never read if it was right or not. But after Noah felt like he had been played a certain way, and this was during his journey of doing what God told him to do, y'all. It make me wonder too, like, I ain't gonna lie, y'all, it make me wonder what all they did to Jesus. They just had him in secret, beating on him for a minute, whipping him, just asking him questions, and he just stayed silent. That's what the Bible say. Because at this point, you already heard me what I'm going to speak about. Everything I've spoken about, I spoke about while I was living my life of faith. I told you what I'm tied to. But Jesus felt like at this point, you can't whip me and get no answers out of me. You already whipping me. I'm going to be silent. You've already made your judgment, your call, your persecution, what you're going to do. You already beating me, spitting on me, kicking me in front of my family, right? And y'all do know everything that happened to Jesus was in front of his family, his friends, his loved ones, his dearest, closest priests, people that looked up to him, had to see him go through that. And see, Noah suffered a persecution of his own that I just want to touch on because he does deserve the reverence. His story, the biblical text, and I already gave a shout out to all the filmmakers who have created an image, and we thank you guys from You Will Make It TV. There are people of us out here, strong, firm faith believers who still watch those type of films. We watch documentaries, we watch films, and we listen to stories, okay? So imagine doing what God told you to do. You're working on this art. People already, that's what I was going to tell y'all. It never told us that either. We don't know if Noah had to go back and repaint over his work sometimes because people want to be funny and draw graffiti and draw on. They just showed, there's a lot of examples of how them town people could have been showing their disdain for what he was doing. And it wasn't just his local town people. People came from all over to see what Noah was doing. Y'all know that? It's an interesting story. They started traveling on their camels and horses because they heard in neighboring cities and neighboring countries that some man is literally persistent for a long time. It said 45 to 70 years it could have took him to build that boat. They get a yacht made in 3 days these days. A yacht, a cruise ship can be built in a week these days. So we're going to give Noah his reverence. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but I know they make helicopters, cars, and I mean, they coming out with a new Tesla soon. They working on it right now. Maybe they're trying to show like, well, we can build stuff just like Noah did. Yeah, but it shows the more handwork, the more no support at all while you built it, no money at all. God provided everything that man needed to carry out his instruction. And I do believe just because he didn't have an iPhone they could hack, it was just different things they might have been messing with in his life as he sweat blood and tears every day. Sweat, blood, and tears to do what God told him to do. See, when he get on that spiritual level, it's deep. And maybe God already knew what some of his family members would do later. They were going to curse themselves. Sometimes we curse ourselves with certain things that we indulge in. certain decisions that we make, certain places that we go. You walked into a cursed area that you didn't know were cursed, and then you go home and wonder why things ain't been the same since you went to that place. There are real stories out here like that today, where people they don't even feel the same after a certain person bumped into them, after they shook a certain person's hand. Their life ain't the same. Come on, man. So we do pick. I just said I think people put themselves in cursed positions. They make certain decisions. You touched a cursed object. You did a cursed thing. So I said I feel like God already knew Noah family wasn't gonna make the best decisions all the time. He was obeying him. We can't look at ourselves too much. We be just like those family members before God called our name, before he called us for it, before he even chose us and gave us an instruction. He knew what family he called you from. He knew what town you came from. He knew how much money was in your pocket, but he called you, not everybody else. Noah could have spent them 40 to 70 years doing anything he wanted to do. He wanted to obey God, and that's why Noah is in the book like he is. His story didn't need no help. If anything, they more going to try to dig up artifacts to see if it's true. It's so powerful. Just you obeying God, what ended up coming out of that. So we'll see that time and time again when we do read about people who obey God, try to follow his statutes and laws, and have faith in what he tells them to do. You're gonna see that the persecution every time. Didn't we just talk about cycles and patterns? So obviously that's how this works. If God told you to do something and you tell me your story, I ain't gonna say it's gonna be not gonna be inspirational to me, but I do kind of am interested in more raw stories. Like, if you tell me you started a business, you just got up, decided to start it, nothing happened, you had no problems, everything went perfect the first time, I might not be inspired by this story, but I would still be happy for you. I want to hear a story. You started that business, you had to start over 10 times, like Michael Jordan type stories. Like, Michael Jordan wasn't even nobody, he was one of the worst players on the in high school. Like, if you know anything about sports, he was a bench rider. They didn't even call him in the game as much. And this man got a bigger, as big as this world right now. I saw different races with him on yesterday, to be honest. Why does it matter? Yesterday was the 4th of July. His brand is very, very big. But I'm talking about how it started. And do people know Michael Jordan's story? Mike Tyson, even the tennis sisters, Michael Jackson's, their music just didn't take off. They went through some stuff. That's why people talk about the Jacksons a lot and what those kids went through to become what they were. And we're not talking industry stuff. This was just their father. He was very serious about their futures and careers, and they didn't have no lot of money. We talking about the 70s and 60s. Black people were still trying to find their way and get they need to back then. Ain't you a big family of children? They wasn't just finna let those children fall by the wayside and look like, oh, we just one of the 6, 5, or 8 that our parents had. Their parents taught them something that could take them a long way. And Michael Jackson's music is still making somebody millions of dollars right now. Okay? So with Noah, whether he had the support or whatever, he still did what God told him to do. That didn't mean that, this was my question, so that's overstood. One of his sons actually violated him. The story goes, Noah was a drinker. We talk about that at You Will Make It TV because even then, when God chose people, he wasn't looking at what they do and their weaknesses. That's the difference between the devil and God. He don't base choosing you off of where you weak. Period. But Noah was an alcoholic. Who ready to talk about it? But it's like the Bible showed us in so many clues probably where his drinking problem came in at. Somebody always messing with your work. Somebody always messing with you, Noah. Even your family members, because his own son did this. So he was probably like when I read the story, it's like we all have one of those goofy kids sometimes. Kids come out with different personalities. Like just the one that's really playful, really goofy, really always got to be the clown. We all know one or two. We're not saying we don't love them. That's why we all have one in the family. But we are talking about the lineage and curse of Ham and how Ham's own father cursed him after he woke up and realized what his son had did to him. It's like somebody trying to recreate these stories, but God told us, hey, be not afraid. Be not, what's that word? Like where you're shocked. Find it not strange. That's how God said. Find it not strange when these same things happen to you. You're going to know real quick what offspring, lineage, bloodline you from if you really pay attention to the type of things you've been through. Okay? Because back then, they could be your sons, but then they mix with wives and they have their own children. So bloodlines do, like I said, get mixed and, mixed together probably even where they shouldn't sometimes. You're a whole child of God with the promises of God on your life. What you doing having a baby with a warlock, a witch, a spellcaster, somebody that have nothing to do with God? It would show the awareness and awakeness to me of a person, if they even know who they are, because certain things they shouldn't have mixed. But it's crazy, like his son's son ended up with a burden. It never told us how old his son was, because Ham was young himself. But so he go out and tell everybody, yo, being goofy, Dad's knocked out drunk in the tent, straight up. And everybody found it funny but him. Like, you the only one coming outside talking about Dad's knocked out drunk in the tent. Like, look where your mind is. So the other sons, it shows their love for their father. They go get a blanket and cover him up. It's like, what was your point of coming to tell us that? So God was already involved before his son violated him, showing his son, who was full of, I guess, look, I love Noah. Look how his other brothers came and put a blanket on. You need to be delivered. You need to try to follow the same path with your father. If you're struggling with something, what they gonna do? Mock Noah? Noah didn't know. You know what I'm saying? They saying, well, that's probably how they was trying to mock him. Like, oh, God told you to build an ark, but you didn't know that your son was perverted. This how they was playing with God people, even back then. You can't expect me to think Noah's son just woke up with an idea like that to do that to Noah while he's building an ark for God. Come on, man. And this is how you know a divine story from just any other story. A story that was literally, God was the author and finisher of that person's faith. Because nothing but faith can make you go out and continue to build an ark knowing that your son is hurting you every time. Man, y'all, this is in the Bible. They only want to tell it, well, look at the good things Noah did. They want to take credit for the story at the end. Yes, 2 of every animal got on there. Everybody didn't get it on the ark, boom, boom, boom. But there were whole blessings and curses. For example, the blessing was that Noah's life was spared and his family's, even though they were evil. Noah wasn't evil. I'm talking about some of his family members. We would call them evil because where was your heart? If a man in your own family is saying, hey, God has chose us, God has chosen me, God told me in the mountains this morning to go build something. Why would they immediately get mad or tell you crazy or that you need to stop? These are divine stories, and it's supposed to go that way. Once again, you're blessed, cursed, there's no in the middle. And Noah was being set up for a blessing. I'm talking about a generational blessing. Like, even after you gone, this is going to be blessed on your life and your legacy and your name. And God had already signed that order for Noah's life. But that's just like if somebody signed an order for my life, okay? That's just for me. That doesn't change who I'm attached to, who my kids are. That's an order on my life. And that person has to carry out that order. So back to the story, he go tell them, yeah, Dad done, probably something like Dad done passed out drunk, y'all. He in there just on the cot, knocked out with no clothes on. To me, how the devil has continued to try to control the image of what we consider quote unquote nakedness. And I say since the story of Adam and Eve. But we saw it again with the story of Noah if we pay attention. You're trying to use the literal analogy of or image of nakedness to deceive people, to do wicked. When we remember who created the sex members, who, when I say members, I mean the actual members of our body and also the members who participate in these acts, which are human beings, animals, everybody. They reproduce, they recreate, boom, boom, boom. We wouldn't walk outside and say, hey, that animal's naked, would we? Maybe if we see it without some fur, huh? That's the only time we might say, wow, that animal look cold, he's naked. But in the spirit, we must know nakedness is real too, and the enemy is like a creep. He's always watching to see when we don't have our armor on, our shield, our helmet. We, as children of God, are never supposed to be naked, but even if we want to take our shield off for a second,